Good morning, podcasters. Today is Tuesday, July 28th, 2026, and today we're back with another podcast evaluation, breaking down the gentle year to uncover what makes this emotional interview connect and where a few small changes could make it even more powerful. So if you're listening live on Clubhouse, hit the share button, top right-hand side of the screen, and share it however Clubhouse lets you. And if you're catching us via podcast, YouTube, LinkedIn, etc., please share this with a fellow podcaster. And now give us about 30 seconds, and we'll get things rolling. Thanks for being here. The Podcasting Morning Show is powered by Ironic Media, helping podcasters launch, polish, and grow great shows. And by Content Creators Accountant, helping creators build real business behind their content. Good morning again, Podcasting Morning Show. Thank you so much for being here. I am your host, Mark Ronick, and currently on stage with me, my co-hosts, we have Ralph Estep, BC Babbles, Sid Meadows, and D.R. Fay. We also have Junaid and Dan from the audience, Junaid Ahmed, Dan Schultz, and we also have Nikki Hernandez, a.k.a. Tide Tutoring, who will be on the hot seat. I will share in a moment. Actually, why not? I'll just share right now. Today, we are evaluating The Gentle Year, the podcast hosted by Nikki. And in this episode for evaluation, Nikki speaks with psychiatrist Cassie O'Day about childhood trauma, attachment, identity, survival responses, and the experience of feeling like you're too much. We'll look at the show's branding, Nikki's interview style, production choices, pacing, the audio quality, and the overall listener experience. So if you've been listening in the past, you know how these evaluations go. But basically what we'll do is we'll break those things down into different categories. I'll play you clips so that this way, if you haven't listened to this episode of The Gentle Year, you'll be in the know. I think we do a good job of navigating this so that you really can understand our feedback, our comments, and critiques. So stick with us here, and why not? Let's just dive right in. And let me get my board ready to make sure that okay, there it is. All right, so I won't hit the wrong button today. And yeah,
Mark,
DR.
Can we acknowledge someone that's in the audience that we haven't seen for a little while?
Yes, we can. Good morning to Nick Nallback, who hasn't been able to join us ever since the time change. But he's here this morning listening in, and of course, welcome up on stage. And hello to DV, who is in the audience on Clubhouse as well. Up here comes Nick right now. By the way, since we're bringing up Nick, and we'll say a quick hello to him. Also, please stick around till the end of the show today. I've got a big announcement regarding the show, and I want to share it with you. So stick around. Again, we will do the evaluation first, and then I want to share the announcement with you. But first, good morning, Nick Nallback.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Welcome back, my friend.
Great to see you all here.
Yeah, great to see you too. I'm guessing we're not going to have a lot of you today because I know you're anticipating Aria waking up this morning.
Yeah, I feel like I'm on borrowed time.
Let's get to the good stuff, Nick. How is Aria? It's nice. It has a little one.
She's doing great. She's still a happy, fun baby, and I guess she's not really a baby anymore. She's a toddler, but
yeah,
she's a lot of fun.
I follow your wife on social media, so I see all the different pictures of her, and yeah, it looks like you guys are having a good summer.
Oh yeah, she's nonstop. So we're just trying to keep up with her. That's the goal.
Yeah. How old is she now?
She's 2.5, a little over 2.5 now.
Yeah. Wow. Very cool. And Nick, you are saying that you think you're going to be able to swing it and join us at Empowered Podcasting August 21st through the 23rd.
I think I should be able to pull that off.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to see everybody and kind of catch up, because I know I haven't been here since that time change. But yeah.
And Junaid, just so you know, since you're on stage, I've already told Nick that he's going to be helping you with the audio video stuff at the event.
Sorry, Nick.
Of course.
Then I get to play with all your cool tech, so I'm cool with it.
I'm the one that's saying sorry.
Well, why are you saying sorry, Alex?
Because I can't go. So.
You can't make it. But Alex was.
I know. See, I've been getting these harassing texts from Mark, and they're so sweet, but they're so it's just not going to happen.
All right. Well,
hey,
I
Mark.
tried.
Speaking for Alex and also myself, because I am unable to go. Will there be any replays of some of the talks that are given? Something that we could see on video that will be available?
Yeah, well, BC Babbles, who's here, he's going to be our on-the-scene correspondent. And I think that one of the things we're going to ask, if he would be so kind, is to take over our social media and do some live stream stuff. So, yes, we'll definitely, from social media, we'll be sharing video of people, of talks, of what's going on in the hallways, etc. And I'm not sure if we're going to actually live stream the event officially. I just haven't decided yet because I've talked about this before. I feel like this is an event that if you can be there. And after the event, if you want to see what happened, if you want your access to those different talks, yeah, we'll make that available. But I'm not sure I want to do it live stream. Yeah.
I'm interested in
she just wants a recording. She doesn't want to see people having fun. She's going to be like, what? I don't want I didn't get there.
All right.
I'm so sorry.
All right, let's dig into the show today. Like I said, podcast evaluation. Nikki, good morning to you. We don't often do these with the podcaster on stage with us. So good morning to you. And how are you feeling about being in the hot seat and hearing a live evaluation of your own show?
I'm feeling really good about it because, number one, I respect you guys' feedback. That's the main thing. And then the next thing is that, I know that there's so many things that I can improve. So I'm looking forward to hearing how exactly or how I can do that and also what you guys think I should focus on. So every little bit of feedback helps, and I appreciate it so much.
Love that. Well, you've just made it a little bit easier for us to do this because sometimes we do feel a little awkward when we know the podcaster is there. But as you know, we are very gentle with our feedback. We give it, even if it's constructive, but we're gentle about it. So let's dive in and let's start with some first impressions, the branding, and then we'll play the intro as we normally do as far as clips go. So I'll open this up to the floor. What was your overall listening experience? What did you think overall? You don't have to get into the nitty gritty.
I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was a wonderful podcast. I thought it was hosted by a true professional, someone that understood the mic, understood how to bring out a conversation. And of course, I'm a little biased because I think Nikki's a great person and I think the work she does is fantastic. But absent that, it was really a good show. And it was one of those things where I was really wanted to hear the end of it. And I actually listened to the second episode with this person as well.
Oh, so yeah, that's right. Because this was part one.
Yeah, I think she did a great job. We'll talk about some things that I think she can work with to even make it better. But I think my overall first impression was A+.
Awesome. And anyone else want to chime in? If not, yeah, BC, go ahead.
Yeah, just to kind of echo that, I thought this was a great episode. I really enjoyed the care in this conversation. We'll get into the topic later, I'm sure. But I think the way that this was approached, considering the topics discussed in the episode, was done with a great level of professionality. So it helped me, as someone who can't fully appreciate the depth of it, really feel comfortable in exploring the story. And I think that's says a lot about Tide's skills as a podcast host and producer. So great job.
Thank you, BC. And we're going to go to you, Sid, and please share what your overall listening experience was. But also, I'm curious, I'm going to throw a second question at you, Sid. Who do you believe that after listening to this, that this show is trying to serve? Who do you believe is Nikki's target audience? Go ahead, Sid.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. So, Nikki, you have a very calm and welcoming tone in your voice. It's just very comfortable to listen to you talk. And as I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking that's why you're a teacher. You can approach these kids in a nice, calm, and yeah. So it was really easy to listen to, but it was a very deep topic.
Yeah.
Like a really deep topic, but you are certainly easy to listen to. And I am going to answer your question, Mark, and say that I don't know that I have the answer to that question. I believe it's parents, but the gentle year to me means on the surface, it means like in the first couple of years of parenthood. But it could mean something different to somebody else. So I know it's for parents, but what stage of parenthood? I do not know. That was not clear to me.
Sid, do you think you would have known it was for parents if you didn't know Nikki as well as we know her?
No, I would not have. That's a great follow-up question. I would not have known this was for parents.
Okay, fair. All right. And Mark, go ahead.
I would have known, well, it's for the relationship between a parent and a child, only because of that image on the cover art.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit since we're in the branding category here?
It's kind of an abstracty kind of, you don't see any faces, but you just see this.
A silhouette.
Yes, a silhouette. And that told me it was about a relationship between parents or guardians. Adult and child is what it told me.
Yes, that silhouette definitely looks like that. Think about the traditional Facebook silhouette that you see when somebody doesn't use a profile picture. Think of that, but instead now incorporate a smaller head and body and the two silhouettes facing each other. That's
right.
The logo. In profile vision. Yes, exactly. So, okay, I think then we've uncovered one area for improvement. I think can all agree that it's not terribly clear by just the name, for example. Some people may not connect with the idea, like, what is the gentle year? How does that pertain to parenthood per se? So there's that. And then I think maybe this could use a tagline.
Yeah, Mark, I was just going to jump in there, and I was going to say that's exactly what this needs, and I think that would be a huge lift.
Yeah,
I think so too. So yeah, I think, Nikki, there's one piece of advice. Now, Nikki, since we have you here, who is your target audience?
I put in the chat that I don't even know the answer to that question.
Well, that's interesting.
Are parents in general, do you feel like that's the target audience? And be honest, maybe it's not, but I'm leading here a little bit, but what do you think?
No, you're totally fine. Yes. The whole purpose behind my podcast was to connect with parents, and I didn't care what age they were or where they were in the stage of parenting. I just wanted to connect with any parent. And so that might have been too broad. ChatGPT told me it was too broad, but I was like, I don't care.
I have to say, I agree with ChatGPT. I mean, just in the sense, it depends on what your goals are, right? Like if you're not looking to if you're not looking for huge growth, then maybe that doesn't matter and just keeping it broad is fine. But if you want to actually grow or grow the right audience, I think it would serve you to identify really who's the ideal. And I just had a conversation with a client about this. The whole idea when we encourage people to, let's call it niche down, this doesn't mean that you're trapped in that niche, right? Like, yes, sure, let's say Nikki decides this is for parents like Nick who have toddlers, okay? Let's just throw that out as an example. It doesn't mean that parents at other stages wouldn't be interested in this, right? But it's just a matter of who you're going to cater to so you can truly serve a certain segment of that audience. Right. I think that that's really helpful. Go ahead, Dior.
One of my clients is a business coach, and her avatar is really strictly female. But just as I say that, I know because we get email all the time from men who listen to the show. So just because you're aiming at something doesn't mean that you won't catch some other fishes in that sea that will get into that net. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good
Mark,
point.
I just wanted to note, I just posted a link to her Buzzsprout page, and something that Nikki mentioned in the comments, and I think it's important we see, is that she did just recently add a tagline, and it's real conversations for parents who need a village. And I think that's a really good start.
Yeah, that's a
I think
great.
it really kind of nails the feeling of where she's trying to go with this. And I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention.
I would say that what I would also do then is consider that tagline or maybe a shorter variation of it to put on the actual cover image. I think that would be huge because, again, if we're just thinking about how people are interacting with podcasts that they're coming across on the apps, I think if you can give them a little bit more information in the cover image, the first place their probably eyes are gravitating to, I think that would also be helpful for Nikki.
And she's got plenty of room. She's got plenty of real estate to do that, actually, because of I love the cover image because it gives her room to do that right underneath. And it would be a great thing to do. I know this is a visual, this is a visual discussion, but I'm saying like she's got the room to do it. Yeah. And it would really pop, I think, in my view.
Yeah. Keywords is parents, right? So fill in some more keywords into that subtitle. And I think that, and also make sure you put it on, if whoever your host is, and you're putting that title on your host, the host line, what's the name of your show? Make sure that tagline is on that host line as well. That's something that the listener won't see, but it's like that little kind of sneaky way of getting in some of those SEOs.
Yeah, and she's got that in there now, DR, on her Buzzsprout host site. It actually says The Gentle Year, real conversations for parents who need a village. So I think she's really accomplished that SEO lift.
That's awesome. Sid, did you want to chime in? All right, we'll go. There he is. All right.
I definitely think that there's room for improvement with the cover art to grab your attention, to stop the scroll when people are seeing cover image, because we're visual in so many ways. And whether I understand the softness, the soft pink color, the gentle year that ties together, I certainly understand the image. But Nikki, your name is not on the cover art at all. There's no photo of you. Not that is a requirement, but I always like to see who I'm listening to. So I think that, and one of the things you might want to consider is uploading the image to Claude or ChatGPT and have it ask you questions about your podcast and ask it to create a cover art for you. And if nothing else, it gives you some ideas of ways that you might want to improve it. For me, when I open up a Canvas screen, I just sit it and stare and like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do here? So if nothing else, it will give you some creative ideas of ways to improve it. But I would definitely put my name on there, hosted by, right? So that people know who they're listening to.
Thank you, Sid. Great suggestion. Love that, the way you suggested to use AI for that. That's a cool idea. I think it'd be cool to give AI your cover image and say, what do you think this podcast is about? And see what the AI spits out. And that could be very telling. Yeah. Thank you, Sid. All right, let's keep things moving and play the intro.
Wait, can I get my tagline?
Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
I have 2 ideas for taglines.
Okay.
One is pretty basic, honest conversations that help parents feel less alone, because that's kind of what I'm feeling, because it seems like you're kind of going more for this, takes a village kind of thing. And then that first one is a very basic version of that, but sometimes flipping it around and just making it a little different so it stands out from the pack. I'd say something like maybe, because parenting was never meant to be done alone. And then you're doing an implied audience shout out that you're saying, hey, look, you are a parent and it's okay to be struggling. Parenting actually is better when you're not alone.
I love that. Thank you, Dan. Coming from a marketing guy, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Dan, for that. All right, so let's get into the intro. Let's see here. Nikki opens by speaking directly to the audience who may have felt unseen or shaped by emotional wounds. She introduces several personal questions before explaining what she and Cassie will explore. And as you listen, pay attention to what draws you into the episode, how Nikki delivers the material, and what happens when the sponsor acknowledgments arrive. I don't know if I have that in there or not, but let's play it. Here we go.
Before we begin today's conversation, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever felt unseen? Have you ever wondered why certain wounds seem to follow you throughout your life, even after you've done everything you can to move forward? And have you ever stopped to consider that some of your strongest traits may have been born from survival rather than choice? Today, psychotherapist Cassie O'Day joins me for one of the most personal conversations we've had on the show. Together, we explore attachment, emotional neglect, healing, femininity, survival mode, and the lifelong human desire to feel wanted, valued, and safe. This episode is brought to you by Turning the Tide Tutoring, Acting with Pippi, Shared Humanity, a field agent's journey into the human mind, and Your Wish is Your Command. I'm Nikki Hernandez, and this is The Gentle Year.
Okay, so there's the intro. What stood out to you guys about this opening? I saw Ralph raised a hand, and so did DR. Let me go to Ralph first. Go ahead.
Okay, so, and Nikki and I have had a conversation about this already, so full disclosure, I think she talked too fast.
Mm-hmm.
I think she needs to slow down a little bit. And because I got through the end of that and I said, Nikki, I'm not sure what you just told me.
Right.
I'm not sure I caught any of that. I think there was a lot of could have opportunities that were missed if she just went back. I was thinking, I relate this to kind of playing it at a 0.8 speed. If she had taken her voice and played it at 0.8, I think it would have been much more effective. But that's just my view. But I think it would have landed more. I think this is a great place for the pregnant pause. This is a great place to bring somebody in because she's introducing a heavy topic. And people need to let that topic breathe a little bit. And I feel like she didn't let that topic breathe. And not that it wasn't effective, but I just felt like she was just running through it, which is interesting because later in the podcast, she doesn't do that during the interview part.
Oh, yeah.
But during the parts of introduction and all that, it's like a race. And I just told her, just slow down a little bit, my friend. It'll be much better.
My guess, and Nikki, you can correct me if I'm wrong, my guess is that's because as far as how you said you noticed later in the show, she wasn't racing through. I think that's because Nikki was reading from a script in the intro. That's my guess. Nikki, were you reading from a script?
Yes, I wrote the script, but I did read from it, and I tend to read and talk very fast.
Yeah. Well, again, I think Ralph makes a good point. You might think you talk fast, but during the interview, I did not feel like you were racing through at all. And I really want to emphasize a point that Ralph made, which just slowing down a little bit, especially on this type of episode, where it is so deep, and maybe all your episodes are this deep, I don't know. And if that's the case, this applies even more so. Slow down so we can feel the emotion. It's when you race through it, I can't connect with you emotionally. I can't connect with the show emotionally. I have a really hard time doing so. So yeah, I think it's fine that you read from a script. I read from a script in my intro as well. I don't have any problem with that. It's just a matter of taking a breath, slowing down. When you ask those questions, even if you pause for a moment, that what that's doing is that's allowing that listener's brain to process and to almost think about the answer themselves. They're not going to get an in-depth answer, but it's going to set the mind in the right direction for the episode. Let's see. Sid, I think you wanted to comment, and I see others do as well.
Ralph hit my point, which was slow down.
Okay, cool. I'm going to go to Rez, DJ Rez, who's on stage with us. Good morning, Rez. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, good morning, Mark. I love the intro. I think it was very authentic, congruent with Nikki's, the way she normally speaks. The only thing that I wish she would do is kind of talk about the guests a little bit more. She just said psychotherapist and the name. We've talked about this. I think you folks have talked about this previously right? But I wish that I could just know a little bit more about the guests. That's all.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times we say that we'll learn about the guest as we go. And so, yeah, Nikki just giving a little tease as far as credentials might be enough. But yeah, I think, look, different strokes for different folks, right? Some people would prefer to get to know who the guest is a little bit before they dive in. I can't fault you for that piece of advice. Let's see.
I know Nikki has a question too, Mark.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Nikki.
Yes. So my question was part of the psychological reason why I tend to speak so fast on my podcast. I can feel this underlying insecurity in me. And I tend to go kind of fast because I'm like, well, nobody's listening anyway. Well, it doesn't really matter. This is a small podcast, blah, blah, blah. And so then I start rationalizing, okay, we'll just get through that. And then I'm wondering if anybody else does that or if you guys have any suggestions for that.
No, I mean, look.
I'd like to actually answer that because that's where I was going to go with it.
Go ahead, Alex.
We contradict ourselves all the time on this place. I mean that in a good way. What do I mean? It's all these different things. And one of the things that I've done, especially with the intro, is actually put a break in read it out loud before I recorded it, and sometimes feel the pattern and then actually do the break. like right break in there
Yep.
so that you can breathe and you can kind of do that kind of stuff. Because what ends up happening is I suffer from that too. You want to race because you think if you go fast, they're not going to notice anything. And the problem is they're going to notice it either way. My only, if you want to call criticism of it, it was, yeah, it was a little too fast. I would have probably had to like listen to it again just so I could understand what was going on. But I'm nitpicking because that's what we're doing here. But, you know, if I was just, I listened to it before. So I just kind of, you know, kept going with it. I think that's the thing that you really need to do is just, if you don't break, like if you don't have an inherent break in yourself, write breaks in there or write it in paragraphs so that you know to breathe. Because I think that's the biggest problem. People just don't breathe.
Yeah, I give myself director notes all the time in my scripts when I use them. Yeah, I'll emphasize words by making them all caps so I know to emphasize that word when I'm reading it, etc. And DR, I know you want to chime in. I just want to jump real quick to what Nikki said there. As far as, you know, well, nobody's listening, so whatever, I'm just going to race through it. And I think, Nikki, that is first very relatable. I think a lot of people probably feel that way. They're kind of like, oh, whatever, it doesn't matter. Nobody's listening. But I do know you get downloads, right? So my encouragement to you is to make a great show for those people that are listening. And if you know you're going fast, then you're doing them a little bit of a disservice. Pay attention to the people in the room, not to who is or isn't in the room, right? You just want to care about those people there and forget about those who haven't shown up yet because you're doing a disservice. So the example I always use, if you're throwing a party and everybody's there and all you're doing is looking out the door, looking out the window to see who's coming in next, those people are going to feel that at the party. They're going to wonder, why is this host not care about us here? Right. So just keep that in mind. And remember, all you're serving are those who are there, and you want to make sure you're serving them up well. Okay. Who else wanted to chime in? Let's go to BC and then you, DR.
So Nick, I was going to say, I feel the same thing from a different perspective. I come from radio. And so a lot of times coming into podcasting, I kind of felt the need to be as performative as radio kind of demands of on-air hosts. One thing that's helped me over time to not speed run and to give myself the time that I deserve as a host on my own platform is really drill into myself two things. One, imposter syndrome is a squatter that pays no rent. It's in your head rent free, and that's not going to change. So there's no need to respect it. And then two, it's your space, it's your time. So you really need to allow yourself to kind of self-engineer this idea of not giving two craps about the speed. Give yourself the luxury of time and cadence. And there's a word I had, but I lost it. But give yourself that grace because, again, it's your space, it's your show. You approach these topics really, really well. So allow yourself to breathe and move through it at a proper pace.
Great advice. DR, how about you?
Well, I wanted to address what Rez said about the guest introduction. There are two different camps on this, and I am in a different camp. You know, if your listeners know you've already built up that know, like, and trust, they should trust that you are going to have the best guests that you possibly can get. And, you know, I'm coming from one of my clients, and she walks on the beach and crocheting with her grandson and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it could go on for a long time. That's a lot of wasted time that you could be actually talking to your guest. So instead, maybe just say, if you want to know more about the guest, please go ahead and take a look at the show notes.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you, DR. By the way, just a reminder, if you are still here listening, remember, I've got an announcement I want to share, a show announcement I want to share, a pretty big one, at the end of the show. So stick with us till the end today, please. All right, let's see here. Dan, you had something, and then let's go to Sid, and then let's move on, because I have more clips I want to play. So, Dan, you're up first.
Nikki, you're really good because you're leading with emotion. And I think what you're trying to do is you're trying to cram way too much stuff into the introduction. Like you're asking, I think I counted 3 questions. And ultimately, every part of the podcast, the from the top to the bottom, the element is to get people to listen to the next thing or the next element, right? All you really have to do, you're leading with emotion, just ask one question instead of three. And that is going to be strong enough. You're going to make even a bigger emotional connection. And then when you're kind of, giving that question, people are going to be like, oh, okay, how do I get that? What is in it for me? Like, you just told me the question I want to learn, as opposed to, here are three questions. Because by question number two, they're like, oh, shoot, I already forgot question number one, and I was interested in question number one. Well, question number two is pretty good. Now all of a sudden you're at question number three, and they're like, shit, what happened to question number one? But question number two was really good too. So you're so good at leading with emotion. Lead with one question. And the other thing is, like, because you're cramming so much stuff in there, you feel like you have to rush.
Right.
You just have to have one thing, slow down. And I've been doing this for a long time, and I know I've got a ton of listeners, but I literally will tell myself when I get nervous, because I do get nervous, I'll be like, don't worry, dumb. No one's listening to this. Even though I know people are listening, I do the opposite of what Mark just said. I just tell myself, yeah, no one's listening. Don't worry about it, dummy. Just be Dan, and it'll come out.
That's fair. Yeah. I like that advice. I think about, what would you say, though? You see commercials all the time where they will ask multiple questions to the viewer right there, right? So, like, do you think then, Dan, that they're doing it wrong?
Different medium. You got, when you're on a commercial, like a TV commercial or whatever, there's just a lot of stuff flying at you. You got graphics, there's supporting graphical elements, there's sound, there's everything. Podcasting, ultimately, again, video kind of throws a wrench into everything. But, if you treat it like an audio only, even if you do have video, you're going to be connecting to the person, and just think about making a connection. And like, it sounds lame, but everyone always says, you're just think about talking to one person. It's like the most overused piece of advice, but it is actually true.
And see, Dan, that leads to what I was saying before. Pretend like you're just talking to one person. If you are genuinely doing that, are you rushing and racing through? Like, Nikki said, she does because she doesn't think there's really anybody listening anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, Nikki, like, your stuff. And when you're only trying to, that's why I said ask one question. Because when you know your stuff, you're the one who put it together. There is no imposter syndrome. You're you. You did it. This is your thing. You're not an imposter. You're Nikki. Now, are you the greatest expert in the world? Probably not, but that's not how expert works. Right. In my family, I'm the computer expert. When a computer breaks, they call me. When I have a problem with a computer, I call my buddy Dwight, and I go, what the hell's going on with my Mac? When he doesn't know, he calls his son. So that's how expert works. There are no guidelines. There's no levels. It's just, do you know more than the people who are under you? And of course, that's the point. Don't try to be anything that you're not. Just, connect. That's what it's all about.
Ralph, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, Mark, I want to jump in here because this is the very situation I found myself in 4 or 5 months ago when I hired a speaking coach. I was doing exactly what Nikki was doing. And what my speaking coach did, and Abby, my VA, has helped immensely, I brought her into the room because now I'm actually having a conversation with someone who nods their head, with someone who gives me feedback. And Nikki knows how to do this because during the interview part, she did it perfectly. So what you've got to do, Nikki, is bring that into the intro portion at the same time. And what I think you'll find is that this will be so smooth, you won't even feel the difference between the intro and the interview. One of the things you might want to try, actually, is record the intro as part of the recording when you're doing the interview, because then you're going to have that person in front of you and just picture like, hey, come on in, let's have a seat. Let's all sit down and let's have a little conversation. And then you just go from there like you're having a talk with one of your best friends.
Thank you, Ralph. And Sid, did you want to chime in? I'm going to give you the final word on this section of the evaluation.
Yeah, lots of great insights here on the intro. The only thing that I would add is whether you did it in the intro, which is probably not appropriate for the intro, but the first question maybe to ask the guests is because I didn't know and still don't know because I didn't take the time to Google it, what a psychotherapist was or what they did. So it would just have been for those of us that don't know what that person is or does, maybe explain it to us.
I think that's a great suggestion. Yeah, admittedly, when you say it, I don't really know what one is either. Like, I have a general idea, Right. But in the big picture, I don't know exactly what they do. So that would be helpful and a great way to start to get to know the guest by asking that question and hearing their answer. Yeah, good suggestion. I like it, Sid. Thank you. I'm going to jump around a little bit, okay, because I know we only have roughly 20 minutes or so, and I have an announcement I want to make also. So there's one area here. Let me see if I can find it. Bear with me. This is, oh, yes, here we go. This is a clip that demonstrates one of what I think Nikki's show's most distinctive production choices is. Cassie finishes a thought, and then you hear a whoosh sound. I'll play it for you. And then Nikki enters with additional context about what they're talking about, which was, I think in this case, the flight response. Okay, so here, let me play it for you, and then let's talk about it.
Few decades to figure out how to change that for myself so that I didn't have to pass that on to my kids. However, they both have that energy, regardless if I want them to have it or not. So I think it's about channeling it in a way that's going to serve them and hopefully not get them in the same type of trouble that their mom got into.
Cassie gives us a little bit of insight into the way that she grows up, but she mentions one key term, and that is fight response. Based on my research, a fight response trauma, particularly in women, is characterized by adrenaline-fueled anger, physical defensiveness, and verbal assertiveness, and is often complicated or more complicated in the Midwest by cultural expectations to remain agreeable or quote-unquote nice. When women suppress this natural defense to avoid social friction, this stored survival energy can lead to chronic anxiety and physical tension. Let's see if this definition matches with what Cassie's experience actually was.
I absolutely love this. And I'm going to go to you first, DR, because when you submitted your feedback for this one, you recommended this particular clip. So what stood out to you? Why did you select it?
Well, this podcast is like a hybrid between a narrative podcast and an interview podcast. And that is so interesting. The whoosh, we call it a whoosh, but today it sounded more like a clap to me. I'm not sure.
Yeah, or like a whip.
Like a whip, yeah. I think it needs to be lower, maybe slower and lower. I don't know, something that is going to make a bigger emphasis on the fact that this is an aside. And also, during your aside, your narration, I noticed a little bit of a bounce back on your voice. Like there was just a tiny little bit of an echo. But you know what? For me, it worked because made it separate from, it made it that narration. Do you know what I'm saying? It made it totally different from the conversation that you were having with the person. So for me, in this respect, and I don't ever recall me thinking this ever before, but the bounce kind of worked for me.
Yeah, it worked a lot for me. It reminded me a little bit, it was like in the spirit of the old, I'm going to date myself, VH1 pop-up videos, where, you would be watching the video and then the little informational nugget would appear on the screen during the music video. This is the podcast equivalent of that. And I applaud it, Nikki. I love the idea. It's something that honestly, I think could work also really well on this show. Right? Like we could be talking about something and then we could swoosh in and I could chime in with a little extra insight and then we go back to the conversation. I think that there's a lot to this, especially because one last thing, we talk about this on this show when we talk about interview podcasts, the challenge is we often just gravitate to putting the guest in the spotlight. And a lot of times the purpose of our podcasts is to put ourselves in the spotlight in the sense of we're trying to get more business, right? The whole purpose is to showcase us, our brand, our business, but it's hard to do if you're only focusing on the guests. So it provides both avenues. We get to learn about the guests during the show, but we also get to connect and learn from the host as well. And I applaud you for doing that, Nikki.
I think I would change that whip sound to something a little bit more substantial. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. A little bit more substantial.
Yes.
To it's a slower thing. You want to let your audience sink in oh, okay, now Nikki's going to come in with her narration kind of thing.
Yeah, I almost feel like maybe, I don't know why, but the sound effect that comes to mind for me is like a doorbell instead of a whoosh.
Or even
what Nikki did was pretty harsh.
It was harsh, you thought?
Yeah, big, like got hit in the head with a chair.
Or even the whoosh that we use on this show.
Sure.
It's a low sound. It's a low frequency.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree. I think maybe that was a little short. I appreciate that suggestion. Okay, who else I see here? Okay, Sid, was that you?
I did.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. So I was actually going to say what DR said, but I'm going to add to it. The interruption needs to be a little bit longer, but I also think that maybe, Nikki, you should consider a sound that's a bit more feminine, because I would imagine your audience is mostly feminine. Your show has a vibe that is very feminine, so maybe the sound is more feminine. But I will say, when I first heard this, I was like, oh, this is interesting. Am I listening to a narrative show or am I listening to an interview show? I actually put that in my evaluation. I was confused. But then when Mark just played the clip, is like, boom, this is really good. I actually really like this. I like this interruption and you sharing your insights. Mark, are you going to get to the clip where she shares the 11 takeaways?
Well, I'm not going to play the 11 takeaways, but yes, I do have that clip and I can play that.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that clip, as I think a missed opportunity there, if I can, if now is appropriate.
Well, yeah, I'll play it. So let me jump to my notes here. Bear with me because, yeah, why not? Let's just do it here. Okay, the clip, here it is. So this is where we're going to hear what Sid's talking about it's going to come up at the very end of this clip I'm going to play. But basically, Cassie has been describing where she physically experiences emotions connected to her childhood. And she mentions feeling it in her heart and her gut. And Nikki responds by connecting gut issues with abandonment, fear, etc. And she starts to explain some somatic therapy and concludes part 1. So I'll play it for you and you'll hear how she concludes it. And then, Sid, we'll come right back to you to share what you were talking about.
So there's definitely a piece that still sits in my heart, but not as bad as it used to be. But there's a lot in my gut for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. It does make sense to me because, like, even though I didn't live the same life as you do, I can definitely see, even in my own experience and in other kids' experience, the ones that have some gut issues. I mean, it might not be all cases, of course, but usually there's some level of abandonment or fear, being scared. And I feel like that really concentrates in the stomach. I don't know, though. I'm not a doctor, but I've just seen it.
Absolutely.
For those of you guys interested in exploring more about what Cassie has talked about, feeling this energy being trapped in the body, somatic does mean related to the living body. And somatic therapy is a body-centered approach that focuses on how trauma and stress manifest physically. It operates on the principle that the body holds and expresses unresolved emotions, helping individuals release physical tension and regulate their nervous system. Before diving into part 2 of this interview with Cassie O'Day, I want to focus in on a few key takeaways. For me, it was how deeply children feel the emotional reality of their relationship that they have with their parents.
Okay, so we'll stop it right there. I will say, I think a transition would have been helpful where she was kind of wrapping up and then moved into the takeaways. Again, maybe it's that same sound effect, whether it's the whip sound or, like Sid had suggested, maybe something a little more feminine. Although some people may argue a whip sound could be feminine, depending on what circles you're in.
Very good. Maybe a wind chime or something.
Yes. And I would say that it also, the conclusion before she transitioned into feedback, it felt a little rushed as well. And I'm guessing there was maybe a script involved in that as well. So I would just encourage the same thing we were encouraging at the beginning. So with that, Sid, what did you want to chime in about here?
Yeah, so there was a point in the show, Nikki, where you said, I have 11 questions for you, and you went through the 11 questions, which is great that you're sharing that insights. But what I think might be more beneficial is say, I've come up with 11 questions that you can ask yourself. I want to give you an example of 2 of them right now and list those 2 questions and then say, if you'd like the full list, be sure you click the link in the show notes and download the list, because then it becomes a document they can then look at and read and refer back to. But more importantly, it becomes a lead capture for you. You're capturing their email list. So now you're building your email list by saying, I've given you a sample of these questions. Go to the show notes and you can get the full list. And then people that are interested in this will grab it. They'll give you their email address. They'll download the list. They'll likely print it and refer back to it. So I think that was a missed opportunity to build your email list.
Great suggestion. Yes. And Ralph, go ahead.
Yeah, and it's funny because Nikki and I actually talked about this because I said, you got through 11 and I had whiplash.
Yeah.
I really couldn't remember the first two or the middle one. And I thought there was a missed opportunity there. And I love where Sid is going. This, I'm the money guy. So I'm always trying to figure out how can you drive some revenue for your show. This is a great landing page. It's a great offer piece that you could give. And you could just tease it a little bit. Say, hey, I've got some great takeaways from today's show. You can go to xyz.com/ and you can grab and it would help build the brand. And I think it would be more impactful because Nikki got through the 11 and I couldn't remember what the first one was, to be honest. And I mean that in a very positive way.
Yeah, I think that for a wrap up like that, providing up to 3 takeaways is all you really need. And yeah, I echo and appreciate what Sid was suggesting there as well, how you can do that, and Ralph piling on there. Yeah, I'm with you guys. I think 3 takeaways.
Not piling on.
Well, piling on to what Sid was asking. Right. I don't mean piling on Nikki. Yes. Okay, so one last thing I want to get to, and I think I have a clip, I have to find it, but I'm just going to start with a general question to the group. What did you think about Nikki's interviewing style? The questions she asked, was she good at the follow-up, etc.? BC, go for it.
Yeah, as I alluded to a little bit earlier, I think for the kinds of topics that were addressed in this part 1 episode, there was a great level of care in the approach. There was also a nice balance with there was a matter of factness with the way Nikki approached the questions. She didn't kind of tease around it, very straightforward with the questions, but you can tell the care there. It didn't come across as someone who was trying to fish for juicy things. This was not about luring in the audience with juicy takes. This is about education. This is about transparent discussion on not easy, typically to discuss things. And I think that those things together showcase a great professionalism with Nikki's hosting and interviewing skills that I think people could take a lot away from.
Yeah, thank you, BC. And again, just for sake of time, I'm not going to comment on everybody's responses. So Sid, you're next. What did you want to add?
Yeah, Nikki, I think you're a great host. I can tell that pretty much anybody sitting in the guest seat is going to be comfortable with you because you create this very warm and welcoming environment. And I think it's fantastic. It's really, really hard. My only encouragement to you is to try, when you listen back to your episode, and this is really hard for a podcaster. I struggle with it on the daily. It's called question stacking. In the interview, you ask the guest like 3 questions at a time. And when you do that, they don't know which one you want them to answer. And so try to just ask one question at a time, or maybe a compounded question where it's 2 questions phrased as one. Because if you ask multiple questions at a time, people just don't know which one to answer and they get confused about what you asked. And I'm guilty of this. And it is hard. There's so much going on that just try to focus on asking one question at a time.
Yeah, actually, I think I found an example of what you're getting at, Sid. Let me play that. And then I know, Ralph, you wanted to respond. So I think this is the clip. Fingers crossed.
With you being a psychotherapist, I think I'm just going to go into some harder questions. Usually I kind of throw a little bit softer questions at people because I don't know, how they're going to respond. But some of the questions that's coming to mind, and you can pick whichever one you want to answer, are, were you abused? Were you sexually abused? Did you lose someone in your family, like in death? Was there drugs involved in your family life? Incest? Anything like that? I'm also thinking of potential emotional abuse in terms of just being put down all the time. So I don't know which one of those questions is resonating with you the most, but we could start with one of those perhaps.
The one that stands out the most, all of those hit, but mostly because I ended up taking myself to a lot of those different things. The thing that I realize resonates more than anything is the neglect. And, some of the leaders in my field will say it's not only what happened to you, it's what didn't happen to you or for you.
So first, I will also want to just comment real quick. The audio of the guest was not great. And I would have just, if it were me, I probably would have run it through AI just to see if I could have improved it. Auphonic, Adobe Podcast, whatever your choice is, I would have run her audio through there to improve it. Because look, I know that we encourage our hosts, make sure your guests are ready for the interview, have a microphone, and if they don't, make sure they're in a quiet space. And all those things are great, but you can't always get that out of a guest. That's just the reality of it. So if that happens, you either don't do the interview or you do the interview and you get a little assistance from either AI or a podcast editor who knows how to improve the audio quality, or if you take your own measures to do so. So what do we think about how that sequence went? Because on one hand, I know that based on what Sid said, and I felt the same way when I heard that part, it was like, whoa, especially because these were hard questions. Like, these were not simple softball questions. So throwing them all out at once felt like a lot to me. And I will say that it did take a second, I feel like, for the guest to kind of land on something. But at the same time, she got there relatively quickly. So just what are your guys' thoughts? Sid, do you want to comment any more now that we've played that?
I just think it happened other places in the episode too. But when you asked that first question about abuse, I was like, holy crap, that's a deep question.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, whoa, here we go. But I think you could have taken that. And I know it's hard when you don't have the question scripted, right? And you're just asking them and you're having the conversation. You could have phrased that into one question like, hey, let's pause here for a second and think about, what do you believe is the root cause of this? Did it have to do with neglect or abuse or something else or some other trauma that happened in your life?
Yeah.
Same type of thing, but one question.
Right. Yeah. And you've just thrown out a few examples of what it could be to help the guest and the audience, for that matter, get their mind going in the right direction. I like that advice, Sid. Thank you. BC, do you have something? I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I was going to say to Sid's point, it started off deep and got progressively deeper. And I do agree, like maybe consolidating all those topics into one question. But I do think the range allows the interviewee to kind of get an idea of the depth we can go, but you don't have to go that deep right away. Here's where we can kind of maneuver into it if you want to go that route. I like that.
Yep. Thank you, BC. Ralph, how about you?
Yeah, I just want to comment one thing about this. And you have to listen to the whole episode to pick this up. But even Nikki put it in the notes here. This lady's main takeaways, I'm a woman. You got to give Nikki a lot of credit for keeping this lady on straight and narrow, because this lady was all over the place. And I honestly, when I was listening to this, I'm like, where is this lady going next? I didn't know where. And so, Nikki, you get a lot of credit for taking a woman who was talking about stuff in 17 different directions and reining it in. I give you an A+ for that, because I didn't know how you were going to do it, because there were things that she was saying that sounded like some of the zaniest stuff I've ever heard in my days. And Nikki just had a calming way of bringing it back to, okay, let's talk about this. And like I said, if she would have slowed down a little bit, I think that would have landed more. But Nikki, great job on bringing this lady who is, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to this lady, but she was all over the place.
Yeah, that is a great point, Ralph, and a sign of a great host is somebody who can really keep reining it in, because let's face it, we've all had guests that talk in all sorts of directions. I feel like I was one of those guests myself yesterday when I did a live with Heather Parody. My mind was all over the place, and she did also a great job of kind of reining it back in. That is a great quality to have, Nikki. Okay, so listen, before we wrap up, I'm going to give my takeaways, and then I also want to share my announcement, but I want to give Nikki a moment. Nikki, do you want to share anything with us, your thoughts, your feelings after this breakdown of your podcast?
I just want to say thank you guys so much. You all are so easy to learn from. You make my heart sing. You make me feel like I can really improve this podcast and take it to another level. You give me actionable feedback that I'm going to take today. And it's so specific to exactly what I do that it's not generalized feedback. And I just appreciate the level of care and respect that you guys show when you do these podcast evaluations.
Thank you, Nikki. Appreciate that feedback as well. And we love having you a part of this community, and we appreciate you throwing your hat in the ring, because we know that for some people it can be a little nerve-wracking to do that, but we really appreciate that you did. And I think that, just to wrap it up here, Nikki's greatest strengths, based on everything we've talked about today, are her empathy, her curiosity, and ability to recognize the emotional meaning underneath a guest's words. She created enough trust for Cassie to discuss difficult experiences, and the distinction between knowing you were wanted and feeling wanted gives the episode a memorable takeaway. I think, like we've talked about, the main opportunities here are pacing, more focused questions, and maybe some of the audio quality as far as the guest goes. Nikki, your audio quality sounded great to me. Slowing down the scripted narration would strengthen Nikki's connection with the listeners. Asking one question at a time could create deeper and easier to follow responses. And like I said, that editing, just running it through some AI, I think would go a long way. So thank you again. That is The Gentle Year. We will include a link to the episode if you want to go hear that and support a fellow community member. And yeah, again, thank you, Nikki. Appreciate you. Okay, so I didn't play my whoosh, but that's okay. I wanted to, before we wrap up, I want to share a personal update about the future of the Podcasting Morning Show. I've decided to put the regular morning shows on pause through the end of August. And I want to be transparent about why. Lately, I've been feeling overwhelmed again and dealing with a lot of anxiety. I'm trying to juggle ironic media. I'm trying to juggle empowered podcasting, this show, and everything else happening in my personal life. I can feel myself getting dangerously close to burning out. And yesterday was one of those days. And I need to listen to my mind and my body and what they're telling me. So this show and this community means so much to me, which made this a really difficult decision. Yes, I know, based on what I shared, this happened, the almost breakdown happened yesterday, and here I am making the announcement today. But I promise you, it was a very difficult decision. I also know that pausing is the healthiest decision that I can make for myself right now. We won't be disappearing completely. We'll continue recording Empowered Podcasting live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. And then those episodes will be released. My target is to release them Thursday afternoons. That means you'll still receive at least one new episode every week. And I'm incredibly grateful to everyone who shows up here, whether you join us live, listen to the podcast, or participate in this community in other ways. So thank you for understanding, for giving me the space to take care of myself. I appreciate all of you. And I look forward to staying connected through Empowered Podcasting Live, through social media, and of course, through Empowered Podcasting, the conference coming August 21st through the 23rd in Charlotte, North Carolina. So if you have any questions or thoughts and want to chat about it, you can email me at mark, M-A-R-C, at ironicmedia.com. Ironic is spelled with C-K at the end. Or you can just go to podcastingmorningshow.com/contact. So I was just going to close, but Gabe, I saw you came up on stage. So when people come up on stage, I like to give them a minute anyway. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to break what I said I was going to do and give you the mic real quick, Gabe. Go for it. Did you want to comment at all?
Yeah. Hey, hats off to you. I'm kind of finding myself in this same spot. So you being able to be courageous enough to share all of this with us, I just want to say thank you for the honesty and vulnerability and everything that you're putting out there, because it is a lot. And I understand what you're going through. I'm visiting these same feelings and thoughts myself. So thank you for sharing that, Mark. It really does help, because we're not alone in all of this. That's all I really wanted to say.
Thank you, Gabe. I appreciate that a lot. And yeah, I thought later time, 8 a.m., I thought 3 days a week for the summer would be enough for me to handle, but it's just not. I am just overwhelmed and I'm neglecting so many different things, from myself to my business. Thankfully, Empowered Podcasting, I would say that has not been neglected, and we've got a team, so it doesn't get neglected. But I'll tell you, Moronic Media has suffered because I am just overwhelmed. So yeah, Gabe, if this is your sign, or if this is giving you the permission, by all means, take that. We preach a lot about consistency and how important that is, but not at the expense of yourself. And that's what I'm taking away from this, is that, yeah, I've been frickin' consistent. It has been years doing this show every single day, and maybe a revised schedule like we've had 3 days a week. But regardless, I have been committed and consistent, and I'm struggling. So I got to take a pause. So thank you guys. And again, feel free to reach out if you have any questions, thoughts, concerns. Happy to hear it. But that's going to be the decision for now, and we will be back at the end of August. So until the Empowered Podcasting Conference, starting August 21st, make it a great August, everybody. Take care.